Architecture is a vessel filled with the lives of its residents. That is why a glimpse into the architecture reveals the thoughts and lifestyles of the people living there. Gyeongsangbuk-do Province in Korea has many of its old buildings preserved, so just a few days' stay there should make time traveling over 1,000 possible. The place that the past and the present meet in harmony and enable the understanding of the Koreans' history, characteristics, and philosophy. You are invited to Gyeongsangbuk-do Province for time-traveling journey.
I think traditional Korean architecture is very interesting, and it's a very good source of inspiration for me as a designer. I've heard that Gyeongsangbuk-do has a lot of major architectural sites, so I would like to know about the buildings, but also about them in the context of society, culture, and history.
Here comes another companion for the journey.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 페레이라 교수님 맞으세요?
Yes, it's me. And you're Tasong.
네, 맞아요. 반갑습니다.
Nice to meet you. Yes. So we have a lot of things to see. Let's go.
고 가시죠.
Here is a brief introduction on the two travelers. Laurent Pereira is an architect who was born in Belgium, studied in Paris, and has been living in Korea for the past 10 years.
A more traditional aspect, like for instance Andong or Nagan, I think those are very interesting for architects, very relevant, and it's a source of inspiration for me, for instance, as an architect.
And Ms. Bae-da Song is a TV personality who was born in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. Now we will head to the first destination of our trip around Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. It is Bongjangsa Temple. We are at the gate of Bongjangsa Temple. This kind of gate is called Iljomun. That means one column door. It actually has two columns, but in one line. And that one line symbolizes one pure thought. It signifies that your mind must be cleansed the moment you enter the gate. After passing through the first gate, a 5 to 6 minute walk leads you to the temple. Bongjangsa Temple was inscribed on the UNESCO memory of the World Register. Although it has gone through continuous renovations, it has been rated highly due to its constantly fulfilling its original function after its construction around the 7th century. Most temples are built with wood, and a walk beyond a 2-story pavilion and a yard reveals a large house where a Buddha statue is preserved. The 2-story pavilion also serves as an entrance.
누나 이게 이렇게 곡선으로 휘어져 있잖아요. 이게 바로 올라가서 넘어지지 말라고 인간 친화적인 거. 사람 중심. 이거 되게 유명한 거예요.
Most Korean temples are located in the mountains. The temple sites are not completely flattened, and many stairs are created using the mountain's natural slopes. In the front of the stairs is the house with the Buddha statue, so a climb up the stairs would present a view of the Buddha slowly and larger, depending on the position. But why did the Korean ancestors build houses in mountains like this? In fact, many things have been built anew over time, with the exception of the temple's site and name.
손님의 눈으로 법당에서 문 열고 쫙 보면 아웃사이드에 있는 랜드스케이프이 이 안으로 빨려 들어오는 거죠. 건축물이 자연을 안는 거예요. 포기하는 거라고 보시면 되죠. 그런 부분 차원에서 이제 건축을 보면 굉장히 재밌어져요.
The first thing is the way the landscape is organized. Well, like the way the buildings are made, you can see in a lot of places. But what makes it really different is the kind of landscape, like scenery, like organization.
The oldest building here is this Hall of Paradise named Gunakjeong. It is the oldest wooden building in Korea and was built in the Goryeo period between the late 12th century and the early 13th century. The Goryeo dynasty was founded in year 918 and continued on for around 500 years. The name Korea originated from it. Most of the people were Buddhists in that period.
그 나무 고려 시대 나무인데요.
오케이. 고려 시대 건물에 이렇게 천정을 오픈 시켜놔요. 이렇게 서서 있는 생활이 많으니까 천정을 이렇게 쾅 터서 열려놔. 그러니까 시원스럽죠 공간이.
네네.
이게 반자를 해놓으려면 이제 또 조각이 막 들어가야 되잖아요.
So here you have all the details are actually Goryeo details.
오케이.
The wood and adornments, over 700 years old, bear witness to the lifestyles of that era. One characteristic of Korean traditional architecture is the development of eaves. The pillars serve as the vertical axes and the girders as the horizontal axes, and the bracket complexes bolster the building along with the decorative paintwork.
공포는 이렇게 처마를 길게 내려면 뭔가 받쳐야 돼 이렇게. 처음에는 이렇게 그냥 단순하게 받치던 것을 좀 더 이 가공을 하기 시작해. 디자인을 하고 부재를. 그러다 보니까 공포가 그렇게 발달을 했다라고 봐요. 그 얘기는 처마 밑 공간이 필요했던 거예요.
What is seen underneath the straight bracket complexes are pillars. Goryeo aesthetics are reflected in them as well.
원형에 배열린 기둥 만드는 거예요.
아, 위에는 좀 얇고.
그렇죠. 가운데가 이렇게 곡선을 이렇게 딱 해놓은 이유는 우리가 엔타시스라고 할 거예요. 착시 현상을 잡아주고 보존하기 위해서 그런 부분을 당시에는 많이 썼어요.
Bongjasa Temple is interesting in that it offers a full view of a few centuries worth of Korean traditional architecture history. Let us examine Daeungjeon Hall next to us. Contrary to the straight roofs of Goryeo buildings, slight upward curves are seen at the end of the eaves. This is representative of the Joseon architectural style. Whereas bracket complexes only existed above pillars in the Goryeo period, several of them were made between pillars in the Joseon period. Paintwork was also done in the Joseon period, but the discoloring on this building makes it hard to view. Another difference compared to that of the Goryeo period, other than the roof and the eave decoration, is that stairs were designed for the purpose of entering the building. This implies that the culture had changed from that of standing to sitting.
This temple was built in the 7th century during the Silla dynasty. That means it's 1500 years old. And what is very interesting to us is during that 1500 years, you can see religion and architecture evolving together.
인경사라고 하는 사찰에 갖고 있는 의미는 일단 한국 사회에서 가장 오래됐다라는 거, 그 원형 오리지널을 잘 갖고 있다라는 거, 그런 사찰. 그리고 그 하나의 오리지널만 있는 게 아니라 그 이후에 들어서는 시대적인 요소를 담아내는 사찰의 시대별 건축물들이 존재하고 있다는 거죠. 그게 이제 하나의 또 다른 지속 가능한 문화유산을 내포하고 있는 거예요. 그러니까 불교라고 하는 게 상을 담고 있다라고 보는 측면에서 이제 일단은 세계 문화유산적 가치를 인정받은 거죠.
In a space located some space away on the east side from Daeungjeon Hall is a small temple where monks live and practice asceticism. It looks simple and plain, but its structure is certainly a miniature of the overall view of the temple.
안에는 또 조경, 우리나라 한국 조경의 아주 오리지널적 어떤 모습을 함축시켜서 표현해놓은 이 조경 미학, 이게 우리가 얘기하는 경관 디자인이 아주 뛰어나다라는 거죠. 이게 한 듯 안 한 듯한, 그게 제일 어렵다고 하잖아요.
Gyeongsangbuk Temple consists of a 2-story pavilion and 4 separate buildings. It may seem narrow, but an original idea can be glimpsed behind the independent state of each space. This is a landscape made of stairs and pine trees. A walk through the cave-like entrance and up the stairs makes way to a new space completely separate from others. The pavilion boasts the best view, offering the best location for the appreciation of its surroundings, a cup of tea, or even meditation. The space inside the yard has areas compartmentalized through low stairs and trees. 2 trees are enough to create borders in between the common yard and other buildings. The beauty of Gyeongsangbuk Temple comes from its subtly arranged spaces. The viewing of the exquisite nature in the front and an appreciation of the cozy temple in the back assisted the talk shared with the chief monk.
법당은 예불, 기도하는 영역이고 여기 본당은 여기는 사람이 살면서 생활하는 영역이 있으면 일반 차보다는 훨씬
Tea culture is greatly developed in temples. The monks not only drink tea for their health, but also for meditation.
찾으시고 또 이 흔한 돼지 감자차를 사람에게 이로운 차로 이렇게 하는 것이기 때문에 자 드십시오.
How about a further story related to Buddhism?
틀리는 없어요.
네, 좀 특이해요.
예. 종이학이 봉황이 되어서 이 자리에 앉았어요. 그래서 의상스님이 봉황이 앉은 자리를 찾아서 와서 보고 여기 이 틀을 보더니 봉황이 머문 자리다. 해서 봉정사라 이름을 짓고 통만법 명일심이다. 만법을 통해서 각가지 온갖 법을 통해서 밝은 명자 일심 내 마음을 밝힌다. 좋은 생각도 마음이 짓는 것이고 나쁜 생각도 마음이 짓는 것이고
마음 먹기 달렸다.
예.
Only good thoughts would be brought up in a landscape as alluring as this. Our second destination is Gyeongmunsa Temple in Yecheon. Each Korean temple has its own attractions and backstories. Whereas a trip to Bongjeonsa Temple presented traditional wooden building structures, interior design must be viewed at Gyeongmunsa Temple. Gyeongmunsa Temple is also a temple built in the year 870 during the Silla period. A walk up the stairs underneath the pavilion reveals the neat and quiet appearance of the temple, snugly embraced by mountains. At this place is a building named Daejangjeon Hall, which cannot be found at other temples. This building was built in the Goryeo period in 1173. And during its 8 building sessions, bracket complexes increased in the front, typical of the Joseon period style, but its straight roof and connecting parts between the side pillars and purlins made it a well-preserved Goryeo-style building. However, what is more important than its appearance is its purpose.
So this one I know. It's a dragon.
맞아요. 용이에요.
And a flower.
그리고 밑에는 연꽃. 용이랑 연꽃이랑 공통된 게 뭐가 있을까요?
Don't burn the building. It's a fire protection.
맞아요, 맞아요. 저게 물과 관련된 거여가지고 여기 안에 귀중한
The wish for this building to escape fire damage was made to protect its precious contents. And as if to prove how such a wish came true, this building was the only one kept safe from damages through several fires. Thanks to it, a more vivid viewing of Goryeo's architectural style could be examined. The typical Goryeo style is noticed in the fancy sculptures, patterns, jar-shaped beams, and girders. It is being discolored over time, but it must have been extravagant 1,000 years ago. The flower vase, called dongjaju, or short mortar-like pillars, are components of the buildings built during the late Goryeo and early Joseon periods. The repeated figures of the dragon inside reflect the desperate wish for the building to be kept safe from fire. Buddha portraits are normally drawn behind Buddha statues, but this temple has a unique rear wooden picture made by sculpting wood. The Buddha sculpture in front of the picture looks brand new with a new gold leaf. It was made during the Goryeo period. Judging from the water jar held by the Bodhisattva, it also reflects the concerns about fires. Such fear against fire damage was mostly due to the will to protect Yungjongdae bookcase. Yungjongdae bookcase stands on both sides of the Buddha statue, and while on one side is straight. The other side has flower sculptures, giving it an extravagant look. The sides are different in shape due to Korea's unique idea of the harmony of yin and yang. When one is created simple, the other is created extravagant. Yungjongdae bookcase is where Buddhist scriptures are kept. Far from being a simple bookcase, it spins around.
They cannot read. They just have to turn the wheel and the prayer happens.
그 윤장대 안에 그 경전을 놓고 그냥 이게 고정돼 있는 것이 아니라 이걸 갖다 이제 돌림으로써 이제 이게 회전을 함으로써 사방으로 법문이 이렇게 퍼진다라는 의미를 갖고 있어요.
To the illiterate believers, Yungjongdae bookcase was another way of earning salvation. We are embarking on a trip to Andong. It is to visit the Soan Confucian academies. Educational institutions named Soan developed in the Joseon period. UNESCO selected 9 of them as one to be inscribed in the memory of the World Register. Although the construction of a dam eliminated the lake from old times, Dosan Soan Academy still looks out toward the beautiful scenery in the form of Andong-ho Lake. A monument and a monument house were erected to commemorate the building of the state examination there. The Soan Academies were private educational institutions where Neo-Confucianism was studied.
During Silla and Goryeo, the principles of government emanated from the Buddhist temples. But in the Joseon era, this role is given to the Soan, which are academies, devoted to the study of Songyak, which is a branch of Confucianism.
What is seen first of all inside is a well. It signifies that a bottomless knowledge should be sought, and also that much effort must be made akin to the act of scooping up water with a bucket. Only those with a strong enough will could enter the Soan Academy. The Soan Academies were usually made up of a residence and lecture hall for the teacher, a residence for the students, and a residence for the housekeeping employees. A shrine where the ancestral tablets of scholars are kept is also a component.
You probably know the founder of this school because he's in your pocket. Iwang is one of the most important scholars of the Joseon era.
The first person to build a Soan academy here was Taege Ii-hwang. Dosang-sodang School was designed personally by Taege Ii-hwang, who also participated in its construction.
자, 여기가 태계 이황이 무려 4년 동안 있었어요. 네, 여기는요. 여기 태계 이황이 살았던 집이에요.
Oh, it's a small building, but it's in the list of the World Heritage by UNESCO, right?
태계 이황이 있었던 거실이에요. 마루라고 하죠. 여기 보면 얘는 다르죠. 여기랑 여기가 다르죠.
So this is his classroom as well, right? Okay.
The building, which was built small to practice frugality and self-control, was inevitably extended due to increasing students. The present Dosang-soan Academy was extended and completed by the students of Taege Ii-hwang after his death. Timely enough, people have gathered in order to experience Confucian scholar culture.
공자께서도 가난함을 걱정하지 말고 고르지 못함을 걱정하라고 그랬습니다. 맹자는 더 구체적으로 환과 고독이라고 그랬습니다. 이것은 호라비와 과부와 과와 자식 없는 노인들을 우선적으로 돌봐라고 그랬습니다. 다음으로 세상의 불의에 대해서 저항해야 합니다.
중견관리자 교육의 일환으로 저기 선비의 정신을 배우고자 도산서원에 방문하게 되었습니다.
Now is the time to visit the shrine. Sangdoksa Shrine is where the ancestral tablets of Taege and his students Wolchon are kept. Ancestral rituals are held here out of reverence for their attitude toward life as Confucian scholars. Noblemen were designated by social class, whereas Confucian scholars were people studying and practicing the right Confucian duties. Although Confucianism is from a distant past in present times, Koreans still respect the spirit of the Confucian scholars. Confucianism was created in China, but it was Korea that studied it deeply.
퇴계 선생의 일생의 학문과 삶과 삶의 자취에 대해서 주로 공부를 하시고 연수를 하고 그것을 본받기 위한 다짐의 자리로 행하고 있습니다.
Taege was a forerunner in developing the field, and he taught that its scholars always needed to be tidy and humble. The straight and clean appearance of Dosang-soan Academy resembles the spirit of Confucian scholars of old, who aim for the correct way of thinking. The architecture wholly reflects the wish of Taege Ii-hwang. What was realized through the sketching of Dosang-soan Academy was that the straight lines were never all in one plane, with each having their own distinct lengths. This could have been to guard against standardization.
원형이라고 하는 부분을 더 강하게 갖고 있죠. 그러니까 태계라고 하는 분을 중심으로 안동에 있는 많은 서원들, 유생들이 제자들이 나갔잖아요. 배출됐잖아요. 그런 측면에서 굉장히 자부심을 갖고 있죠. 도산서원이라고 하는 속에서. 그리고 그것이 이제 건물에 반영이 되는 거죠.
A well-kept order without a uniform rule, and a mind following principles and yet emphasizing affection. The mind behind making a door for animals in the food repository could be a good example of such enlightenment. More than 300 years have passed, but their scholarly spirit has been living on in this academy building. The principle considered most important in Korean traditional architecture is the location. The best is when there is a mountain behind and a lake in front. Dosang-soan Academy and Gyeongsangbuk-do Academy, which we're about to visit now, were also built that way.
We just arrived in Gyeongsangbuk-do. This is also a school like Dosan, but the architecture feels different. It feels more open and free, and it's related to this amazing landscape.
Out of the 9 UNESCO selected academies, Gyeongsangbuk-do Academy is also in Andong, along with Dosan-so-won Academy. Gyeongsangbuk-do Academy's gate is also called Bongnaemun, meaning overcome yourself and return to propriety. Compared to Dosang-sodang School at Dosang-so-won Academy, Mandaru Pavilion is the representative building of the Gyeongsangbuk-do Academy. Mandaru is a 2-story pavilion, and it was a multi-purpose space used as a lecture hall and also a resting area. Although it was the largest building in Gyeongsangbuk-do Academy, it is far from being grand or overbearing. The small pond next to it displays the view of space in its symbolization of a square land and circular sky. Gyeongsangbuk-do Academy was built in 1572 by Ryu Song-ryong, who was a student of Taege Iwang. They might be both Sowon academies, but it is great fun to imagine how the 2 scholars looked around both Dosan-so-won and Gyeongsangbuk-do academies. Since the word Mandaru means worth the wait due to its beautiful scenery, it can be expected that the landscape seen from here is exceptionally good. The lake flows in front, and the mountains block further in front, but various sights can be seen, as the colors of the mountains and the sounds of the water change per season.
대들보 빔을 보면, 이렇게 메인 빔을 보면 이게 윗면과 아랫면은 이렇게 곡선적이잖아요. 껍질만 벗겼어요. 그리고 양 사이드는 커팅 똑같이 놓고 깎았어요. 이렇게 양쪽의 사이드를 스트레이트로 커팅을 해버렸어요. 기계적으로. 그건 인위적인 거잖아요. 근데 위아래 윗면하고 이제 아랫부분, 언더 부분하고 이제 윗부분은 또 자연스럽게 내두었어요. 그러니까 이게 아주 묘한 느낌을 주는 게 인위적인 요소와 자연적인 요소가 참 이렇게 어우러져 있는 거예요. 그러니까 그 적정한 선을 딱 찾아놓은 거죠.
When they compose the building, they have this idea of a structure, a grid, regular proportion, but they incorporate some weird detail that is coming from nature.
Gyeongsangbuk-do Academy may seem free from rules, but it emphasizes integration and balance. An infinitely wide and spacious landscape can be seen from the Mandaru Pavilion. But when at Ipgyodong Hall, beyond the yard, beneath the pavilion, the scenery in front looks like a picture frame due to the pillars on each side. Everyday life is spent along with nature, but when studying, principles must be kept and in self-control must be practiced at the Sowon Academy is the understanding to be naturally reached here.
강당에 선생님이 앉은 자리를 딱 보면 이 직선적인 기둥이 만들어진 아주 딱딱하잖아요. 근데 저 바깥에 보이는 경사는 어떻게 보면 면벽이잖아요. 근데 그 면벽을 적당한 걸 띄우니까 저 공제선이라고 하죠. 산 능선 너머로 보이는 하늘이 굉장히 강하게 들어. 그러니까 꽉 막힌 부분하고 터진 부분이 하나가 이제 조화가 되는. 그러니까 생각의 사유 체계가 들어가는. 그게 잘 반영된 건축 공간이에요.
Large thoughts like mountains and lakes should be made, while principles should be adhered to, and the enlightenment of the previous scholars should be respected. The Sowons were such places in training Joseon scholars. Location is important in Korean architecture, but in the case of pavilions, beautiful scenery was the most valued factor. Pavilions were built in the optimal spots, and in order to make the views even better, ponds were dug out and trees were planted. This pavilion had a pond flowing around it to resemble a flowing river, and a small hill was made in front to stand for a mountain. But when the pavilion was built, a real mountain and a real stream must have been seen out the main gate.
This is Ansujong. It's a jongja, means it's not a house, it's a pavilion. It was built on early 17th century, and it was placed here because the landscape was so good. Here you could study, meditate, and have family meetings while enjoying the view.
여기가 언제 생겨난 집이냐면 조선 왕조 14대 왕 선조 때 만들어진 집인데 굉장히 멋지죠?
Yes,
야, 우리
it's very nice.
딱 문을 열고 딱 들어왔는데 우리
Yes.
교수님께서는 한수정의 첫 느낌이 어떻게 받으셨는지.
I like it. It's very special. There's like artificial nature and a really powerful shape here.
정자는 이제 여러 가지 목적이 있는데요. 일단 가장 근본적인 목적은 주변 자연을 이렇게 즐기는 하나의 목적도 있고, 또 다른 거는 이제 제자들, 자손들을 모아놓고 이렇게 강학, 교육을 하는 목적. 그게 한국인들이 추구했던 정자, 이렇게 경이로운 것보다 가까이 갈 수 있는 곳.
저희가 딱 왔는데요. 여기 돌에 한자가 새겨진 거 보이세요?
What is it?
맞죠?
What is
여기에
this?
글자가요. 초연대라고 적혀 있대요. 초연대가 뭘까요?
Is the name of this place?
네, 이 장소의 이름인데 자연을 초월하다라는 그런 의미를 가지고 있어요.
The small hill could be climbed for studying or meditating, and thus offering an experience of a new world.
여기 이 기둥 보이시죠?
This one looks special.
네, 정말 특별한데 이게 400년이 됐대요, 이 기둥이. 저 기둥에 비하면요, 진짜로 오래된 아이예요.
Oh, this one was never replaced. The connection of the wood and the stone is nearly matching. You can see how there's no space between
네네네.
the shape of the stone and the shape of the wood.
오, 아, 여기 딱딱 붙어 있네. 하나인 것처럼.
This Gurungi process was a way to erect pillars when cement did not exist yet. It was a construction method deriving from the ancestors' wisdom. The structure of the house is also distinctive. Korea's houses are mostly placed horizontally, and this one is close to a lowercase letter T. The shape is formed due to it having a small room with a wide yard in front. This protruding space could have been an area from which the outside scenery could be viewed.
One thing that I really like is to see a very lightweight structure in the sense that it's transparent. It's very close to nature. It's very close to outside.
Many people say that all Joseon period houses are similar to one another. That is an obvious fact. This house was designed so that all the doors could be lifted.
와,
Joseon people paid more emphasis on the view from inside the house rather than the shape of the house itself.
Okay.
아, 안에 보니까 문 열면 다 보일 것 같은데? 열어볼까요? 와, 멋있다.
To them, a house was not simply a closed life space, but a passageway to enjoy and appreciate nature.
저기 나무 보이세요?
It's very thick.
우리 교수님 보시기에는 저 나무가 얼마나 됐을 거라 생각하세요?
And I don't know, more than 100 years.
되게 오래됐을 것 같죠? 저게 이 집이 지어질 때부터 있었던 나무인데 이게 1600년도에 지어진 집이니까 저 나무도
400 years.
그렇죠. 400년 된 나무래요.
It looks old and happy.
This is called a spindle tree and acts as the symbol of Confucian scholars. It mirrors the wishes of the ancestors that good scholars were born in their families. Such wishes and hopes for this family's descendants were left for posterity in the form of signboards. And to serve as evidence of when, what, and where repairs were made, long-lasting clues were kept in documents. Chuwolhon, a house from which to view the moon. A pond where a dragon lies. The common belief is that the Joseon period was a stiff society due to Confucian culture. But a look at Hansujong Pavilion offers a view of contemporary people relieving themselves of stress by actively enjoying nature and stimulating their imagination. Hansujong Pavilion is where Joseon period gardens, which are artificial yet never overbearing, can be admired. Gyeongsangbuk-do Province is where many noblemen and scholars resided, so pavilions are abundant here and there. Out of them all, Chaewajong Pavilion stands out for its unique shape. Its building may be smaller than Hansujong Pavilion. 3 artificial islands floating in the pond catch the eye. Its name originated from the mind hoping for the love and affection between siblings. The crepe myrtle tree in the garden is without a bark, signifying unreserved integrity, and the pine trees symbolize constancy. With 1.5 floors and thus requiring a climb up the stairs, it is made for the intention of a secure view of nature from high up. Although all the pavilions from the Joseon period were created with much care in viewing and scenery, Chaewajong Pavilion mirrored such an intent in its design. The scenery must have been outstanding, since the signboards are completely filled with messages from the visitors to this area. And above the signboards are rafters and purlins that are completely revealed and unexpectedly aesthetic. The hipped and gable roof embodies the architectural style of the Joseon period. However, its structure is far from a set type. This room has a 3-parter structure. Each room has doors with sizes similar to that of the wall, so they can be used as one whole space. Normally, the rooms on the sides are the main ones, and the one in the middle is used as a floor. But in the case of this house, only the room in the middle is the main one. What makes this room special is this door.
한지가 앞뒤로 2장이 발려져 있잖아요. 그거는 이제 보온 효과가 있어요. 한지가 같은 공기층이 거기에 요즘 페어글라스 유리 똑같은 거. 근데 유리는 실내 공기를 따뜻한 걸 뺏어 먹어. 차갑잖아. 근데 얘는 안 뺏어 먹어. 그래서 실내가 따뜻한 거. 그리고 이제 숨을 쉬어요 이렇게. 그러면 이 쾌적한 공간을 만들어 줘요.
Traditional paper is used for insulation, along with beautiful frames for a decorative effect. What is most noteworthy is another small door created on the floor. It is for the viewing of scenery, while keeping the room temperature consistent in winter. Of course, the side rooms lack ondol heating, but have separate windows next to them. None of the 3 rooms block the ceiling, so air can ventilate through them. But it would be a shame to view such scenery through only these small windows. Most traditional architecture in Korea use doors that can be lifted upwards. It is to make effective use of space. Although not many cases go as far as this.
들문으로 연다라는 거는 밖과 안이 하나가 된다는 얘기예요. 경계에 대한 부분을 어느 순간 열어젖힐 수 있다는 거. 그래서 공간을 굉장히 다양하게 쓰고자 했던 그런 부분이 다른 정자와 다른 모습이 아닌가 보시면 돼요. 그런 부분을.
Not only are the 3 rooms connected as one, but the front, sides, and rear parts can all be opened. When the doors are opened like this, it looks like a house rather than a pavilion, making it become one with the scenery. We visited 7th century temples, Joseon period Sowan academies, and noblemen's pavilions. Now is the chance to examine their residences. There are some traditionally preserved villages in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province which offer accommodation. Gumdongsil village in Yecheon-gun is also one of them. Not only Joseon period nobleman houses, but also working-class thatched houses can be viewed.
선생님 안녕하세요.
예, 안녕하십니까. 반갑습니다. 반갑습니다.
이렇게 환영을 또 해주시고.
예, 고맙습니다.
네, 잘 부탁드리겠습니다.
가시죠.
That is why comments were requested from a cultural guide of Yecheon-gun. In Gumdongsil village are around 20 Joseon houses preserved in their original form. It used to be a considerably large village before, but now it is a cozy area with a few people farming for a living.
요 가옥은 말이죠. 가옥 형태가 헛집이라 그래요. 예, 헛집. 헛집 뭐냐? 헛집하고 겹집하고 두 가지 형태가 있거든요. 근데 이제 헛집은 이렇게 방이 구조가 말이죠. 한 칸으로 되어 있는 거고 옆면이 두 칸으로 되어 있는 거는 겹집이라 그래요. 이런 집은 기아집처럼 흙을 많이 못 올리잖아요. 무게가 있기 때문에 집 자체가 약하니까 그러니까 흙을 적게 올리는 대신에 짚을 두껍게 이렇게 두껍게 해가지고 단열 효과를 내는 거죠.
And so the product here is actually the product of is the rice. So when you take the rice, you actually use the remaining product to make the roof, right?
탈곡이 끝나면 바로 이어서 볏짚을 엮는 작업을 하거든요. 그래서 이제 11월, 12월 지금쯤은 이렇게 이제 개초 작업을 하죠.
There is a very special thing is actually if you make this, you cannot glue it or nail it, you have to make a knot. So the beauty of that structure is actually it's all fixed with a knot, this rope.
좋은 점은 여름에 시원해요. 이제 볏짚으로 이제 지붕을 이으니까 이제 두껍고 이제 통풍이 잘 되니까 시원하고요. 또 겨울에는 또 온돌방이라가 불을 좀 낮게 넣으면 좀 뜨뜻하고 뜨끈뜨끈하게 좋고요.
It is called a thatched house because its roof is made of thatch straws interwoven together. Joseon period commoners were usually farmers, so straws were the most common and efficient insulation tools. Weaving the thatch roofs was a joint process for the village. Let us take a look at the noblemen's houses.
The Yangban, the nobility, were educated following the Songniak, the Confucianist doctrine, which also apply to the way the family was organized, the house, and its dependency.
Noblemen's houses are usually tile-roofed ones, that is because the roofs are made of tiles.
건축을 지을 때 말이죠. 인공적으로 틀을 만들지 않고 자연 친화적으로 집을 짓기 위해서 여기 산세 형태를 그대로 유지를 했거든요. 그래서 이제 2층 구조처럼 보이지만은 실제는 2층 구조가 아니고 단층으로 되어 있는 그런 건물이 되겠습니다.
It is a house over 400 years old since its construction in the mid-16th century, but families still reside in it.
네, 이 집은 대를 이어서 내려오는 전통 문화가 살아있는 그러한 곳이거든요. 그래서 예천 건시 전체의 문화가 이 집에 다 배어 있다고 이렇게 보시면 되겠어요. 여기 지금 대청마루는 전통을 이어가는 공간이기 때문에 아주 중요한 공간이라고 이렇게 보시면 되겠습니다. 이 대청마루는.
그러면 저기 선반 위에 되게 많은 상들이 있어요.
네. 네, 이거는 이제 요 자손들이 모여가지고 제사를 지내고 나서 말이죠. 소반을 이용해서 음식을 같이 골고루 나눠 먹을 수 있는 그러한 식탁.
You know, in modern architecture, there was an architect who said it's a machine for living. And actually here, it's a very beautiful machine, right? But you can see like everything works, everything is functional. There is a kind of composition of scale, like the levels are changing, every space has a different size. So it's actually quite beautiful.
그러면 이 중에서 가장 마음에 드는 곳이 있다면 어딜까요?
Interesting thing is actually you open this one under and you can see everything, right? So there's like the air is moving, but also there's a light that is changing, and the 3 levels. That's amazing. 1, 2, 3.
Joseon period houses have yards in the middle, with the building outside called the reception building, the one inside called the main building. The building on the left is the kitchen. They all have different heights. The door Laurent pointed at actually leads to the kitchen garden.
The vegetables are here, and so this is the door for vegetables.
Joseon period houses allow an all-in-one system in which production, preservation, and cooking can be done. The Joseon period house structure was made this way due to the influence of Confucianism. According to Confucian teaching, Joseon women were disallowed from meeting men outside of their house. That is why even the smallest houses had women mainly living in the main building and not the reception building. Such thoughts were also reflected in the building of houses. Let us get on the move to look around the interior of the Joseon period house. An old house designated as cultural heritage was said to be repaired, so we visited it. A straw fence was made around the reception building to indicate that an elder of the house had passed away. The reception building was kept intact, but the interior and roof were under large-scale construction. Considering how Koreans have little chance to see what a traditional house framework looks like, this is a fortunate chance. Thatched houses might not last 100 years, but many tile-roofed houses last over 400. However, if the tiles are broken and cracked, rain permeates through the wood rots, so repairs must be made. But they are not completely broken down and built, because repair work can be done on only the rotten parts. Woodwork technology have been developed that much. The people who design and built such large traditional houses were called daemokjong before. The word means great carpenter. There are still masters in Korea with such woodwork skills.
한국 건축의 특징이 저기처럼 못을 사용하지 않고도 이렇게 맞물려서 할 수 있는 게 과학이라고 배웠거든요. 여기 봐도 저렇게 특이한 나무로 연결돼 있어요.
기둥인데요. 기둥 사갈이잖아요. 기둥 사갈에 이제 돌이 들어가고 이 돌이도 들어가거든요.
Notably, the rafters forming the roof shape are intertwined together with holes instead of nails in order to stand strong against external damages.
문화재는요. 원형 보존이 원칙이거든요. 그렇기 때문에 함부로 막 바꿔도 안 돼요. 아직 못 쓸 것만 바꾸는 거죠. 그럼 다 바꾸면은 새 집이지 문화재 가치가 없잖아요. 그래서 이제 원형 보존을 최대한 살려야 되고요. 그래서 이제 넘버링을 저거 해가지고 못 쓰는 것만 바꾸려고 이거 한 거거든요.
I think it's quite precise in the work they do. I think the roof is the most amazing part of technology here, right?
우선 처음에 산자 엮어가지고 흙을 올리잖아요. 흙을 이겨가지고 이제 하고 그 위에다가 보토라 해서 또 말하자면 단열재 흙이 올라가거든요. 그래서 그 위에다 기화하기 때문에 이제 그래서 여름이 시원하고 겨울이 안 춥고 그런 거예요.
Soil is stacked up with a thickness of 30 to 60 centimeters. Soil is an important material also in building walls. After the framework is completed with thick pillars, the common contemporary material Respediza tree is split, made into rope, and then attached to the wall with soil plastered on it. Straw fermented over a few days are sprayed with water and mixed with red clay with a thickness of 10 centimeters, so that the wall does not crack or fall apart. After that, soil mixed with plaster are used for the finishing touch. Such a soil wall was exceptional in its insulating and humidifying functions.
Do they have to take out everything, or they can actually keep some parts which are actually still strong structurally?
전부 드러내는 거 아니고요. 지금 이 상태를 이제 썩은 부분을 전부 드러냈거든요. 지금 있는 부분도 상태가 안 좋은 거는 체크해가지고 교체를 할 거거든요.
The handling of cultural heritage is done with much care in Korea.
요거는 현재 여기가 많이 부식되고 위에도 끝이 안 좋으니까 교체하는 걸로 해서 저쪽으로 가면 되겠죠? 네.
For the possible preservation of the original form, a check on the material is also made meticulously.
요거는 한번 돌려보죠. 상태 양호합니다. 요거는 재사용 쪽으로 가면 되겠네요.
When this process is finished, all the parts are reassembled without the use of nails. Its new sturdiness and beauty wholly depends on the hands of the woodwork master. I wish to visit it again when the repair work is completed.
We've seen many great buildings. We've seen houses, we've seen temples and pavilions, how they were made, how they were maintained. They teach us how people used to live, how they used to think, how their society worked. And I think from learning how the landscape worked, how technology and philosophy of that time, of the past, I think today we have a chance to make better space for ourselves. It was an amazing trip through time.
More so than anyone else, Koreans thought of space and architecture from a philosophical perspective. Now is the time to appreciate the beauty hidden behind the cultural heritage they left behind. 1,000-year-old history lies in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. Would you like to partake in the next journey?